right. Yeah. Good. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Donnie Monette. With that introduction, I don't know what to say. Hey, I love that introduction. Thank you, sir. It is my honor and pleasure to brief y'all tonight from pretty much head to toe what disaster emergency communications is in FEMA and what we do, and some of the experience that Joe and myself have done. FEMA Region IV is one of the largest, largest region. Well, we are the largest region with disaster. We got 8 states. Of the 8 states, 6 touch water, pretty much the Atlantic. And the 2 interstates is Kentucky and Tennessee. We also have 29% of the nuclear power plants and 20% of the United States population. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe. So we have a lot that's on our mind, but we do it so much. Joe and I, a lot was from trial and error, and a lot, it just took time and we got there. But we could not do this without the state SWCS, the ESF2. I mean, the partnership that they bring and the friendship. And there's nothing better than being able to pick up that phone and call Mike Harris, or call Jeb, or call Michael Nix, or Ben Bass. I mean, it's a great thing, especially when a disaster hit. I mean, it's a super thing. With that said, one of the old things I used to always say to people in communications, you can talk about us, but you can't talk without us. And that's for sure. Okay, the FEMA mission statement is helping people before, during, and after disasters. That's one of our that's our belief, and that's what we do all the time. Over the years, that statement has evolved, and I believe that's about one of the best, simple, and to the point mission statement there is. And we are proud of that, and we just love it, and we try to help people. If you don't know, our new FEMA administrator is Deanna Creswell. She just got sworn in Monday evening. So we are excited about having her and ready to go forward and with some new stuff. And because of COVID, it's been a long year, but a lot to lesson learn, and lots of virtual and webinars and Adobe Connect and Zoom. But I mean, we're getting closer and closer to that date, and everybody's ready. It's like, oh my God, I can't wait to get back out there and see people and react to people and talk to people. Mercy, I can't wait. FEMA have 10 regional offices, which are led by regional administrators. These are SES. 2 or 3 are permanent, which I mean permanent, not politically appointed. Right now, we have a lot of acting RAs and acting deputies. Of course, every 4 years or election year or something, when we get a new leadership, it changed, except for FEMA Region 4 and 6, I believe. 4, 6, and 3. Up here on the slides, I'm gonna go through some of these slides. Like I said, we're gonna talk, show you how we're structured from disaster emergency communications from headquarters on down to the regional office, and some really good stuff. I mean, the friendship we have made through the years is great. But like Joe said earlier, we also serve as the technical advisor to the RA on communications, pretty much with everything that's going on. But we have a lot of evolving entities like CISA. Now we got ESF 14. They kind of do communication, external I think they're still trying to find exactly where they are, but it's a work in progress. I believe we also got ECD, used to be the Office of Communications, Emergency Communications. Now it's Emergency Communications Division. I believe everybody probably know Pam or Derek. They're with the ECD. And excuse me with my voice. Had a little of a cold, but I'm pretty much over it, but I just want to let you know. So that is some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. If you have questions, let me know. Hold on, I'm getting these slides mixed up. I'm sorry. Okay, here's our organizational support structure. If you notice in the gray, it's the regional. Over to the right is the headquarters. Can y'all see that? Is that the correct slide? Y'all looking at the organizational support structure?
One more.
Okay. Can you see that? Because something is not going right. Okay, can you see that?
There we go.
Oh,
Yes.
got it. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. Over to the left is the regional structure. Over to the right is the headquarters. If you notice, the blue line is the, direct support. The dotted line is just provide guidance, support. Over in the gray, you got the regional administrator, then you got the response division director, then up under that, you got the RECC. So we pretty much work for the response division director, but we also got that dotted line to go to the regional administrator or the RA if something's up, to just let her know what's going on. Now, over to the right, you have the response director, which, response director at headquarters. Then up under them, you have the FEMA DEC division. And under them, it's MERS. MERS is our mobile emergency response support. Those are our, I like to call them our special forces communications guys. Because when they go out, if they can't get it done, we probably have a problem. And they carry everything from water to fuel to communication to SHF to HF to UHF to VHF. Those guys will get the job done no matter what. The DEC division provides integrated federal communication support and emergency response at all levels of government. This is when they say DEC, we're talking about headquarters and some of the stuff, but because of DEC, that's what brought the DEC RECC to the region and also brought what we call the Regional Emergency Communication Coordinating Working Group. We'll talk more about that as we go down and show each of the roles and responsibilities. If you notice here, I'm probably going through some of the slides a little fast, but a couple things I would hit on and then talk about some of the experience that we have had and some of the stuff that's kind of going on right now and the stuff that happened in Tennessee that y'all probably know more about than me. I know Steve do. It's a very interesting thing to get a call on December the 25th. At first in the news, you see it, you're like, oh, okay, whatever, some madman out there doing some crazy stuff. But it's where he done it at is the problem. Okay, FEMA Emergency DEC response support. This is some of the thing, the Mission Central, they do some of the Mission Central, they support the ESF emergency support function, including ESF2. They support urban search and rescue. What the MERS guys do, they go out and they do UHF, VHF, and they got radio repeaters. They got this mobile van with a antenna mounted on the back for quick jumps and hops, being able to move and communicate. And they tie it in through a satellite system where search and rescue is always able to talk back to everybody, HHS, and all the good stuff. And you see, we support some of the federal response team. That's including FBI, a lot of the feds, FCC. Also, MERS go out and support the Joint Field Office for FEMA, the JFOs and IOF. And they help set that up. MERS go out, set that up, and take off, and they go back home. They do their reconstitution, get ready for the next mission. But when they go out, they are an ace in the hole, and most people realize how good they are. They really are. They also support NSSE events, which inaugurations or anything to do with the president. And they also support our IMATs, Incident Management Assistance Team. These are the teams that roll out to the states, wherever the disaster is at, and they pretty much are our lead from there. Once we do a transition from the RECC to the IMATs, they got it. But we also have LNOs that probably go out before the IMAT team get there. We got an LNO assigned to each state, just to get ahead and give us what's going on in the states pretty much. Now, if you notice, ESF2 serve as the co-lead when activated. We serve as the co-lead with NCC. And when I said we'll talk about some of the stuff, NCC, I'm not sure how long they're going to be around, because ECD, I believe they all are, I guess they are absorbing them pretty much. That's what we hear. Time will tell, but the way things looking, that's what we're seeing pretty much. I mean, really. So we'll see from there. Like you say, everything, you got to be flexible, and adjust from there. Deck coordination with the regional, state, and localities. FEMA Regional Emergency Communications Coordinators report to the RA on emergency communications issues in the region. So like I said, any emergency issues, like I believe we had in Florida, not today sometime, I believe in Florida, they had denial of service at a PSAP or something. And I believe we had got a call from the FCC. It's like, oh, okay. So we tried to call up Ben Bass, alert him, hey, Ben, this is what's going on, because sometimes they don't know. And be like, it's just a good thing to be aware of. DEC, Mobile Emergency Response Support, which is MERS, they provide mobile and tactical communication capability. Mobile and tactical communication capability, and IT support. They do C2 communication, command and control. Direct WIG serve as a coordinating point for the federal, state, local, and tribal agents at the region level on emergency communications related matters. We also do emergency communications plan. We work with the states to update those plans for the states. That's a good thing, where we can, I can't say gaps, but understand what the states have and what they might need if it's something major, very major. The DEC roles and responsibilities, pretty much almost the same what I just said. I'm trying to see if anything different. Not much. Here, one of the things, conduct damage assessment and short-term solution for damage of critical communication infrastructure. Wow. Let me tell you about this. Well, what they're meaning there, I'll give you a good example in Florida. Not too long ago, at one of the EOCs, they had one of the EOC directors at the county. When the hurricane came through, they was having all kind of communications problem, and the state they had more of a priority with other places. So we got together, and I got together along with headquarters and our MERS guys, and we said, okay, look, the last 2 days, this guy been on CNN saying, hey, he ain't got no communications, and he ain't got no communications. And it's like, okay, let's fix that. So it was like, we took our MERS guys, say, look, okay, just drive to these EOCs. We're going to do drive-by, just do like checks to see how you're doing. Like, do you have a problem or anything? And so when they get there, you know, it was and they was having problems. So our MERS guys get there, they put in their satellite, and sometimes once they got a little bit stable, we'll drop off a huge satellite. So now they got like two lines of 2 telephone lines. They got the internet. They can communicate. Everything went well. Like, thank God. CNN was not the next day. The emergency director was happy. We was happy, and Florida was happy. That's just a couple of things that we do. We try to resolve some of the problems that arise, and pretty much most hurricanes or disaster that comes up, they're never the same. We learn from them all the time. I mean, trust me, we do. Here is the deck central of coordination. If you notice at the top, you got DHS, and it goes down to FEMA headquarters. They got the FOC, the NOC, and all that good stuff. And just below that, that's where you have I don't know if you can see it in the yellow, it says regional. And at the regional headquarters, you got the RECC, you got the MERS, right? So this is where we work at, in that middle to bottom section. From the RECC, that's ESF2, coordinating with MERS in the state ESF2s and SWICs to provide tactical communications, and working with the NCC and the vendors, the AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile now, and some of the Cisco, and some of the cable landline. Our priority in a disaster, especially a hurricane, our priority is always about life-saving. So we're always asking, what about the PSAPs? Are they down? Do we got them rerouted? If they rerouted, where? We're looking at the landlines. Or the landlines up? And sometimes landlines are down. And if they're down, we're trying to get them up. And then we're talking with the industry. If the cell towers are out, sometimes cable is in, and we'll be like, well, can you open up your Wi-Fi points where people can get on Wi-Fi and at least communicate? Because people don't know. When they don't know, that's when they get nervous. And their loved ones can contact them, and everything go pretty well from there. The Department of Homeland Security Act of 2007, Title 28, Section 1805. This is what the RECC, Regional Emergency Communication Working Group, was established. And it's established because of Katrina. With that, the RECC planning and coordinating body is responsible for providing a forum to assess and address survivability, sustainability, operability, and interoperability of emergency communications at all levels. That says it all right there. And we never stop, and we're constantly trying to improve. I love to try to improve. If anybody know Joe Robershaw, she's great. I mean, she go at it. When the RCC opened up, it's like, let's go. And we go from there. The RECC regional focus and expect to have unique members depending on regional government structures and procedure, which we do. As we go along, you see some of our members. Would I like more? Yes. I would like more of 911 centers, but sometimes they're so busy, but because we got that SWIC or because we got that state ESF2, we still got those 911 people and we understand what's going on. This are statutory duties, some of the stuff we got, but the major one you see I got highlighted. We do an annual report to the, it goes to ECD, it goes to FCC, NTIA, and it goes all the way up to Congress. This is the report card that the state get a chance to tell Congress what's the problems, how to fix it, and what they need. I mean, the state guys, if once the states get this and understand that and be like, okay, this is our problem, this is how to fix it, and lots of probably come to funding and be like, they can say, okay, we need more grant funding for this. And that's what they should tell the Congress. That's how I see it. But we also track what they did, what exercise they did, what they're doing, how they're improving interoperability. This is our members. This is the membership. And you got the partnership with the vendors and the wireless carriers and the satellite communication services, the cable operators, some of the hospitals, and shares, and you see ambulance. Shares been wonderful. I mean, whenever we need shares, they turn on like that. I love it. Even though we lost I think a great person in Ross Merlin. I always used to make jokes when Ross came to our rec league. I said, hey, y'all need to take a picture with this guy because this the guy that started it all. The Nightfall. I said, hey, he's gonna retire soon. Take a picture, make him autograph your Nightfall. And now he done retired. He's not really retired. I just talked to him yesterday. He was still working. Can you believe that? State Emergency Communications Plan, command and control, some of the evacuations, shelters, search and rescue, some of the stuff I talked about earlier, commodity, medical, and debris. Debris, let me talk about debris. Going most hurricanes throwing debris, as the cell tower come back up, right? And sometimes it can just be power. But as it come back up and it's got debris, that's when you have a problem. And, you know, say like you got 200 cell towers came back up. Then all of a sudden, 2 days later, they're down. You're trying to figure out what happened. Well, what done happened, they start moving the debris. What's in the debris? Fiber line. And they just go through and cut that. And it's like, what the world? Nightmare. And what, I don't know if y'all know much about Lifeline, but that's one of the reporting tools we use to send up to the headquarters and national level saying, this is what we got, this is what our lifelines are, if it's green, red, or, you know, yellow, pretty much. Here we go. Here is the Federal Response Communication Systems role. If you notice at the top, you got the Disaster Emergency Communication, which is DEC/ESF2. Going across, you got the NCC, which is the National Communications Coordinator, /ESF2. Then over to the right, you got Communications Logistics, and it's got COML. That's FEMA COML, which is mostly IT. We used to laugh about that so much. It was like, that's not COML, that's IT. And so we have the FEMA guys come around, I'm COML. And we just used to die laughing. They're like, sit down somewhere. But if you notice that Disaster Emergency Communications DEC/ESF2 responsibility, who we are, FEMA Region IV DEC, pretty much Joe and myself. What we work at, RTC as ESF2. Like I said, we're the co-lead. We developed a common operating picture to put everybody on track from the top to the bottom, to inform leadership at the top, see what's going on, and make them understand what's going on at our level, working with the SWCS and ESF2, getting information from them and the vendors. Going over to the National Communication Coordination, the NCC/ESF2 restoration. That's another thing. You see it says ESF2. So we work closely with the NCC. Now we bring in some augmentees sometimes. They send down GS-15s or Fulbright colonels and to help us out with some of the stuff. And where they can go to our RECC or JFOs. They also support critical infrastructure, key resources, public safety, 911, telephone, cellular, internet, broadband, all this stuff, then that falls upon ESF2. We track that. Now, one of the things, I don't know if you ever heard of DIRS, Disaster Information Reporting System. That's one of the things we request to get turned on. That way we can tell what cell towers are out, where they at, and we inform the states, here you go. The only bad thing about DIRS is always 24 hours behind. So if we have a hurricane coming in, I remember talking with John O'Connor's at NCC. So if we have a hurricane coming in, it takes 24 hours to get the first report. So at 24 hours before it hit, I want to turn on DIRS. For I can get that report and see what done happened, what's going on. John couldn't understand that until last year in Region 6. They funked that out. Okay, well, we need to turn up so we can really see what's going on. I do not know. Sometimes they don't get it, sometimes they do. Now you come over there to the COML on the communications logistics. That's the CSS regional IT and MERS. That's where the MERS guys go set up the JFOs. They set up the table. They set up the routers. They set up the printers. Pretty much, they set up the JFO pretty much. That's our special forces communications with FEMA. But MERS is so much more than that. Like I said, they got SHF, HF, satellite. They got a lot of stuff they bring to the table. They help the IMAT with connectivities, satellite phone, voice and data, VTC. There which says FNARS, that's incorrect. IT don't handle that. Joe and I still handle that. FNARS is HF, but it's a national HF, and shares is more public. I think I got that right. Is that correct, Steve? Everybody quiet? Anybody there?
I'm sorry. Shares is what public? I'm sorry.
Yeah, public.
Shares is not what I call public. You have to sign a non-disclosure as a member agency.
Right.
Once you sign the non-disclosure as a member agency, then you have the privilege of using volunteer resources or employees or both.
Right. Okay, got it. And here, during Katrina, lessons learned. This is a big one. So, I guess everything do tie back to Katrina. I hate to say it, but it really did. Tower infrastructure failure. Power is key, especially these days. A lot of time in Florida, it hits, the power goes down. So the cell tower sooner or later goes down. But as soon as the power comes back up, it comes back up. We be like, thank you. Public switch telephone network. Lesson learned there with landlines and microwaves. Microwaves get out of line. All that good stuff. Landlines are down. Need for more deployable system. I believe we have done that since then. And I'll put number 6 down, ham operator / I should have been /shares. lessons learned. I mean, sometimes the hams and shares get so left behind. As a good friend of mine said, you don't realize what you don't have until it's not there, and then it's too late, huh, Steve?
Yeah.
And then it's too late.
It's like I say every day, people don't buy their burglar alarm till they've been robbed the first time. They don't even think about it.
Yeah. And here's our contact information, Joe and I. If you have any questions, y'all can call us or email us. But some of the lessons learned, a lot of the other regions don't get a chance to do that. Good example, during one disaster, we brought down Region 8. Region 8 don't get a chance to see hurricanes. Most of their stuff is like they're in recovery instead of response mode. With us, everything happened real fast. They say, well, what about this? Say, oh, yeah, we already done that. They say, when? Right about 10 minutes when it started, we already started planning for that. It was done. One of the other things that we helped with was the Seminole tribe, their first disaster. It was good and bad. That's the first time I left the regional office, which was bad because when you go from the regional office down to disaster, you really don't have no control or see what's really going on at that level. But the good thing was I was there and able to help them. But when I first got there, they did not realize who I was until 2 days after being there, and the chief realized who I was. And oh my God, we started getting stuff. I said, what do you need? How can we fix it? And it just took a phone call and we was getting it fixed. But it was massive. The way they system set up, they kind of like pieced it together. So it was a lot. So I just like to say, okay, what's your priority? What you need? What's your first, second, third priority? Let's see if we can get that fixed. And after about 10 priorities, it was good to go. It was time to go home. I was like, okay, I'm out of here. If y'all need anything else, great. But it was their first disaster. We wanted to make sure it went well. It did, thank God. Like I said, our MERS guys, I work close with them. They bring a lot to the table, but they do a lot of tactical and C2 communications. We work closely with the state, ESF2s, the SWCs, with the NCC, the vendors. We try to bring everybody to the table and get it done. What's the timeline? Let's get it up. How can we help you? You want to know what routes are down? We got that. You want to know when the power is up or coming up? We work closely with ESF2 and we let them know what's going on, what route is closed, and where is ESF12 going to when they do bring up power. And they try to work closely with them and make sure that they don't cut no fiber as they going through some of the debris. With that said, any questions? I know it's kind of short, but kind of brief. And I mean, Joe and I do a lot. Sometimes we just don't realize all the stuff we do. We just, our goal is whatever it takes to make it work, and that's what we do. With that, subject to your questions.
Okay.
And I know Steve Waterman got a question.
Steve always has questions. So Donnie, our questions and answers are not quite as formal, right? We're one big community. So we kind of put them out there. If you don't have an answer, that's fine. But I want to start off with the first question. You talk about the MERS team. So for our region, are they housed in? Does each state have a MERS team itself? And if so, how are they equipped? Right? You said they're pretty self-sufficient.
They self-sustaining pretty much. They are pretty equipped. Trying to go back up here to MERS. We have 6 detachments across the region. We got Thomasville. We got Frederick, we got Bothell, we got Denton, and a few more. I thought I had it in here. I probably had it in another slide, but they are very equipped. They're equipped from fuel to water to VTC to conference to internet.
Well, yeah. What kind of telecommunication or communications equipment do they use? Is it mostly satellite? Is it cradle points? Is it?
They got satellites. They got cradle points. They got Iridium phones, and they got PEP waves. That's something new they got. You name it, they pretty much got it. But one of the things that a lot of the field coordinating officers like to use it for a office to do VTC or radios. They got UHF radios, and each merge, when they go out and set up, they set up a repeater. So if you're there, you can get on if you got a FEMA radio. So they can talk back to FEMA headquarters on their radios through the satellite system repeater. They made that standard operating for most MERS. So when they go out, they set up a radio repeater for who's ever in the immediate area with one of the FEMA radios.
FEMA, is FEMA, all the FEMA radios, are they 800 and 900 megahertz, or are they?
Well, I believe they got some XCX 5000, UHF and VHF, but right now they got the Apex tri-bands. They just waiting on of course, the XCX 5000 will expire in a few years, I believe 2025. So they're going mostly to the tri-bands right now.
Okay.
But they always, like, good example, a couple of the detachments are experimenting with Starlink. I believe Starlink going to be something big in the future, and we probably start using that. Right now we're using HughesNet, but the looks of Starlink and download, I hear some of the download speeds are at 70 megs for a satellite. That's insane.
Wow.
But it's in the beta.
Until the solar cycle kicks up. Really
Yeah, I should say, Houston, we got a problem.
All right, so I don't want to hog up all the time, so let's open it up for questions for Donnie. I think Kathy or Steve.
If not, I know Steve had some announcements he wanted to make.
Oh, I've already done that. What I wanted to say is, what I was asked to say here is that the distinction between what you think of, what the states think of COML is there's a big chasm between COML Fed and COML Type 2, the type of COML that we all run around with our task books trying to get certification for. And we found that out in Puerto Rico when the ARRL and the Red Cross left. They sent in 10 shares volunteers. Some of them were all hams. I think 2 of them were with ECD, which was OAS, I believe, back then. But they did go in there, and they were housed as backup for the joint field offices. And there were 3 joint field offices, I believe, and those people were fairly WinLink savvy with Pactor 4. They also had public safety and other NIFOG capabilities, and they did communicate quite a bit, but they did not get any direction unless there was some IT-based phenomenon that needed answering. Most of the work that the COML did in the federal side was with satellite, with satellite interference, with other IT-based issues, and had no qualms about letting everybody know that they were on their own when it came to HF communication, because that wasn't their forte. So I wanted to make that distinction, because that could become important in Georgia or anywhere else that you had a mass casualty event, and you get somebody in there who's extremely savvy with enabling technology, but old HF is not part of that.
Yeah.
You
Steve,
go along with that, Donnie?
yeah, I do. I'm glad you mentioned something that I'm remembering about Tennessee, what you just saying, what just happened in Tennessee. Steve, you know, I mean, what that vehicle took out, they was having problems just making telephone calls, I believe, if I'm correct, Steve. And that show you that it's always a need for HF or some kind.
There was no GETS, there was no WPS, there was no connectivity. It was a lot worse than I think the public thinks it was, and I think it lasted longer than the vendors would like you to think. But you know, I have no specific information. I just was a victim of the results.
Yeah, and that's sad. I just think that as a communication community, I just would hope that we could do much better than that. And I think one of the best ways to do that is more communication exercise and coordination. And I really believe that, because the more you practice, the better you get. But not just that, as you practice exercise, you get those relationships and a good understanding of everybody and how they work and what's going on.
I would assume there's a monthly exercise for FNARS.
It is.
Okay. I know we have one in this region for Shares WinLink, and most of the states participate on a monthly basis. It's been in every state, with the exception of, I think, 3 of the 8 states are now completely, they're there every month. So, and if and when they're needed, they'll know what to do without having all the stress of trying to figure it out during a disaster. And I'm sure that's true with all of your exercises.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot beat those relationships, being able to pick up that phone and say, hey, you need some help or this or that. I mean, I find that one of the best sets that you can get.
Joe, this is Jim. I've got a question for Donnie.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Donnie, I'm one of the shares operators, and I'm really curious, living in the Southeast. During, let's say, when our hurricane season hopefully doesn't ramp up, but obviously that's a wishful thinking. Would you guys go directly, you and Joe, being in the Southeast, to the RCS for shares rather than go up to national and have them route it down to the RCS, or would you talk to the regional RCS direct during an incident for an assignment?
Well, to tell you the truth, normally when something like that happens, we pretty much always call up Steve, or we call straight up to Ross. And Ross said, okay, he activated right there and then, especially when we know we need it. Now Ross gone, so I got to start build that relationship up with the next guy, because Ross know if I call, okay, we really need it, let's get it turned on. That's how we normally do it. Because if I'm calling Ross doing that, that means, okay, hey, I'm not getting a good feeling about this. Let's get shares up and running right away.
I'd be happy to introduce you tomorrow.
All right, well,
Okay.
let me introduce a situation we had, and I'm trying to remember which incident it was. We had the hurricane that went into the Bahamas. Now, we ended up getting traffic through the MAT team on the Georgia area side that somehow was delayed by several hours. And my question was, you know, our EFS2, Edwin, received a request about this and wanted to know who to contact, which it ended up, we went through Joe and she routed us up to the Coast Guard rep who brought it back down to regional. And I was just thinking, in those kind of situations where we have the Southeast active and the AUXC group for Georgia areas, correction, Georgia AUXCOMM is working with REFS2 at GEMA. Could we go direct to you guys for those kind of requests? Should we receive that? Or do you have to go all the way up to the new Ross and then route it back down to the regional RCS with shares? I'm looking at the chain of command, but I'm also looking at the time frame and how things could be expedited.
Could I answer that?
Yeah.
I can
Please.
answer that very simply. Shares has no mission. Its mission is a mission of its member agencies. And if you need activation for shares, it's up to the project manager there to determine whether or not several things will happen. The WinLink system is constantly active. If you wanted to activate an ALE, upper sideband voice net, or a regional voice net, or a national voice net, that would be your request. But most likely what you would request would be frequencies to utilize, and this would be done much before the emergency, frequencies to utilize so that you could speak to your counties and your individuals within your state, and perhaps EMAC coming in and leaving. But Donnie would not have to be involved so much in that. By the time Donnie gets involved, Donnie would already be Donnie would already be very much involved, whether he's there or not. Is that correct, Donnie? Even before, even if there was nothing but information being transmitted.
Yeah, we'll pretty much probably monitoring it, depend on the situation at the time. Yeah, we see it. And like you said, Steve, it can go straight to you guys, which would be great. But once we get it, it depends on the severity of the situation. Yeah, we can jump right on it or not.
If it's a pre-planned event, like the president speaking, etc., that would be pre-planned, and certain portions of shares would be activated. But you don't need any permission to activate anything. If you need to use those frequencies, that's why they're there. There's no activation. The only reason why you would call Ross Merlin is to activate a particular national or regional net that you may feel is necessary in order to communicate with other states. But you can still have the net in your own state or do whatever it is you need to do with the frequencies you've been given. There's no need to activate anything. You can notify, but that could be done simultaneously with activation.
Well, my question was trying to understand how Joe and Donnie come into play when there's a request for an already activated shares net, because there's been several incidents since I've been involved that I tried to understand how that information first came about. So I'm just trying to understand how they respond in the interoperability. Obviously, he's talked about so much communication stuff. I see that the list could be very low for a request for shares, but you never know. So I appreciate both of you attempting to help me understand it a little better.
Yeah, shares is under CISA, and FEMA is not under CISA. They're equivalent or parallel agencies. So Donnie works in cooperation with, but there's no, I don't think, any direct chain of command. I think it's a cooperative effort. If he needs something, he'll call, and vice versa.
Pretty
Okay.
much. Yep. One more last thing to hit y'all with. One of the other things, agent, we work with FEMA IPALS, which is the WIA, wireless emergency alert that you get, systems, and the other radio or TV alerts. Speaking of that, IPALS will be conducting a test here April, I believe April, no, they got a webinar tomorrow. I don't know if that's something y'all want to attend or not. It's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. But they also will be doing another IPALS national test here soon, sometime in May. I don't have the date right now, but I just thought that'd be something that you might like to know.
That's good information. Thank you.
All right.
All right. So other questions? Stephen, did you have a question?
Yeah. This is Stephen Price. Just wondering if FEMA ever participates in any sort of tabletop exercises or in-person exercises, something on the comms side. Is that something that you all do at the state levels?
Well, we used to. One of the things with some of the new leadership, we do a lot of, I guess, budget fighting, like with Georgia, but we have participated with Georgia because it's local. They used to do exercise out at Stone Mountain. I used to love to get out the office and go out there when we can, and if they got the money. I know I'll be trying to get out, but we have participated with some of the states, just not lately. But after COVID, they're gonna have to try to tie me down because I'm gonna be trying to run up out the building like I go. I love to participate with some of the state agent. Like I said, we normally, especially with Georgia when they do it. I believe the last exercise they might have had one tabletop. Well, they had an exercise, communication exercise at Lake Lanier. I don't think we went to that, but when they do it over to right there at Stone Mountain, we definitely show up.
Yeah, FEMA has last August had an excellent exercise. Was an eye opener for a lot of states, and all the states participated in it. In this part of the country, where, and this is just my opinion, where emergency communication is an experience as opposed to other parts of the country where it's a concept, you'll find more tabletop exercises in those places where it's a concept than you will down here. I think that this last week we've had a statewide exercise in North Carolina, statewide exercise in South Carolina. I don't know what Donnie is planning for the plenary this year, but usually sometime during the several year period, there's a pretty hefty exercise. Georgia was a major player in the last exercise, the FEMA Region IV exercise, and I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, but I thought that was very educational and informative for all who participated.
Yeah, I mean, we tested some of the shares. We tested what they call NAWAS, just some old school stuff. We tested satellite, which was the M2 satellite. We did lots of this. We tested the LMR systems. And we did that, yeah, well, FNRs, and we did all that, and we did all that in a short time, but we did check it. So we checked from satellite to HF to landline to internet, and it worked well. With this year, We are definitely planning pretty big, something a little bit more challenging. But as I said, it's going to be a pretty much walkthrough. Feds, what are you doing? States, what are you doing? And from there, at 96 hours out, and try to work it out from there. And then we might have a second hurricane coming up. Okay, what you gonna do now? So it's just to get the states thinking and also talking, because it's a strong possibility that we might see that this year. We have at the national level, they have a weather lady named Sonny. When Sonny first came on board, she came in briefing. Everybody's like, who is this doom and gloom person, right? She was saying, she was predicting this. Everybody's like, whatever. And so it happened. So it was like, oh. Then she came again, she predicted something else. It was like, oh. And then the third time when she predicted, it was silence in the room. So I gave her a new name. I'll call it E.F. Hutton. When she speak, everybody listen. I kid you not.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hate to cut off the questions and answer because this has been a good discussion, but we are we are at time. And Donnie, I did want to thank you for that awesome presentation and the good conversations that happened after that. So a lot of good questions, a lot of good discussions.
All right. If you need anything, just call us. You got our contact information. It's been my pleasure and honor. It's great. I love to get out. I can't wait till this over with. It's driving me nuts. Thank you. Yeah, everybody be safe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Donnie. Great presentation.
All right.
All right, for the folks who have not, well, no one's left yet. So our next training opportunity is May 27th. Stephen Nelson from the National Weather Service is going to come to an after action briefing on the tornadoes that hit Noonan. So something that's really, really near and dear to a lot of our hearts, very close to a lot of us. A lot of graphics, a lot of discussion about why we're vulnerable in those certain areas, and a really good presentation. So keep an eye on our Facebook page, our groups.io, and our monthly newsletter that goes out from our PIO, Joe Domoleski. So watch for those for more information on this and the meeting invites. And more information on Georgia AUXCOMM, our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, our website, and groups.io. So just search for Georgia AUXCOMM on any of those media platforms and you'll find us. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to attend. If you have any feedback, you can provide that via our website at